Hey y'all, Anita here. One of the best things about being on the 2018 JoCo Cruise was getting the chance to sit down on a giant boat and talk to some amazingly creative people. I hope you enjoy listening to these special conversations as much as I loved having them. We're releasing one a week as a special bonus for you amazing listeners. And remember, we do need your help to keep making this podcast, so please consider joining our podcast community for exclusive perks and bonus content at d.rip/femfreak. This week's interview is Open Mike Eagle. He's an LA-based rapper, podcaster, and wrestling nerd. We actually met for the first time on stage and couldn't stop talking about all kinds of nonsense for days afterwards, so we recorded some of that. Hello, Open Mike Eagle.
Hello. I like that you said all three of my names. Thank you, Anita Sarkeesian.
Would you prefer to have should I just call you Open?
You should call me whatever you feel most comfortable. I feel like we're like cousins now from being on the boat.
Yeah, we bonded.
Days. So you can call me whatever you want to call me. As long as
is that how it works? When you're cousins, you can just call each other whatever you want? I don't really have cousins, so I don't know.
I got cousins too, and I'm not even that close to them, so it might just be a old broken metaphor to begin with.
Sure.
You know, but I meant to imply relation based on familiarity. So however that protocol works.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Let's just go with Mike.
Okay.
But I was really proud that I got your full name correct.
Oh,
since I fucked it up
that's right.
on a previous recording podcast with somebody else.
That was before we were related.
Because I was like,
so
is it a pun?
okay.
It's a pun, isn't it?
No.
It's okay. Okay, hold on. Let's back up.
pun.
Who are you? Why are we talking to you?
My name is Michael Eagle.
Yeah.
I'm a rapper and writer, and I do podcasts and I do all the stuff. I don't know why you're talking to me exactly.
It's because we bonded.
Okay, well, good.
Yeah, I was
Then
like,
that's
oh,
why.
you're cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we are on the JoCo Cruise.
We're in a weird room on the JoCo Cruise.
Yes, we are in the quote-unquote podcasting room, which is literally just a room with a desk in the middle of it.
And
there's no bed or anything, and there's no windows.
A lot of rooms on this boat, and this is the only one I've been in that doesn't have a window. And it's like a little jail room.
You feel a little trapped?
A little bit.
It feels like an interrogation room. That's what Amy was saying.
Exactly.
Every podcast that I record here is going to have this preamble about this fucking weird room.
I'm such a normie. I'm coming with the
totally, man, totally
coming with the regular observational humor.
But so we're on the JoCo Cruise. We are actually towards the end of it, so we're hustling back to San Diego, so you can feel the ship rocking a lot more than you could the other days.
Is this what hustling feels like when you're a boat this big?
This is exactly what hustling feels like.
It's pretty chill. Pretty chill hustle.
Yeah, it's a big ass fucking
It's
boat.
a really, really large boat.
But you and I are both brand new. We'd never been on this ship before. So
I've never been on any cruise before.
Neither have I. Yeah. And so I think we were like, hey, let's be new together.
Yeah. We're babies.
We're babies. So one of our stops on the ship was Loretto, and the JoCo Cruise people organized a land concert. Like, it was a straight up music festival.
Right.
And which was, I don't know how you organize a cruise and a music festival all in one, but they're
definitely seems
impressive.
like you needed the people of Laredo's help to do that somehow.
Yeah, for sure. But you performed on that stage show, and this was actually my introduction to your work, and it was wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
You're a really great performer. I also, you brought your kid out.
I did.
I know we're just jumping into this, but I love to hear more about that relationship in terms of like, were you encouraging? Was he volunteering to want to do stuff? Do you bring him on stage often?
I bring him on stage often when...
How old again?
He's 9.
Yeah, okay.
And so whenever I'm doing a show that he can attend, because, I'm usually performing at 21 and over venues at midnight, so he's not able to see a lot of my shows. When I am doing a show that he can go to, which is typically a daytime festival-like environment where there's lots of family and people, for a few years now, we'll make some opportunity for him to get on stage and typically just dance. He likes to dance. What I've learned is that once he starts dancing, he will not get off the stage. And as long as he is on the stage dancing, nobody in the audience is paying attention to anything I'm doing anymore.
No, why would they?
Right. So
he's sensational.
So now I've had to keep in mind that when I'm going to bring him on stage, I have to put it near the end of the set. And this is the first time, a couple nights ago in Laredo, when he joined me on stage, and he rapped with me.
Yeah.
Because he's been rapping for like a solid couple years now. But when one of these opportunities arose, he would never want to rap on stage. But I think what we were able to do is because while we were sitting in Laredo in the green room, kind of just hanging out there waiting for sound check, we not only presented him with the opportunity, but we sat there and kind of worked out a song, and it was based on an experience we'd had the day before.
You wrote that song backstage before the
I wrote
show?
that afternoon. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, but I only wrote 8 rap lines, and then we came up with the hook together.
Yeah.
And his parts were all freestyle, so it was real easy.
Were they?
Yeah, he's all off top of
He's
the head.
so impressive.
Yeah.
I love that I just turned this into the podcast interview about your son.
Look,
As he takes over the stage as well.
we both know who he is and who this world will belong to. Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I had to stop. Processing ego information about that a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, but it's really fun to work him into what I'm doing.
Well, now you need to tell the story of what the song was about.
Okay, you're right. We do. Okay. So the song,
Our millions of fans are just waiting.
the hook to the song, because we never did give it a title, but it's 15, 20 feet ocean, nah, right? Mm-hmm. So we would just keep saying that 15, 20 feet ocean, nah, 15, 20 feet ocean, nah. And that was about the snorkeling expedition that we had attempted to go on the day before. We have snorkeled once before, him, his mother, and I. We were in Hawaii in January. And that, I didn't want to do it then because I don't like doing stuff, really. I don't. I like to stay in a room typically and read things and play video games and just have alone time.
Yeah.
The kid wants to snorkel because he loves fish. He loves sea life. He wants to get as close as possible to sea life, at least theoretically. And so there's a place called Hanamo Bay, I believe, in Honolulu, that we took an expedition to, and we got snorkeling gear, and you snorkel kind of off the shore, so you ease into it, kind of walk out there and get as deep as you want, and it was cool. I mean, he would go out and some fish would get too close to him, and he would like run back on to the shore, and then he would get his bravery back up, and he would go out again. And then that was kind of his process, and me and his mom joined him in that. So we signed up for snorkeling in Cabo the day before Laredo. We assumed it would be a similar experience, but it wasn't. We were on a boat with a bunch of people, and the boat went 45 minutes away from where all the ships were docked to a marina-like situation where there were a lot of like roped off areas of water. And we were about 50, 100 feet away from the shore. Like, we're just in the water. And they gave us all floaty vests and flippers and kind of just threw us off the boat one by one into the water. I lasted about, and I told you this the other day, but as soon as I got into the water, swam about 10 feet out, and as soon as I stopped swimming, one of my flippers fell off, and I just freaked out.
Yeah.
and I noticed Asa was kind of freaking out a little bit too. So we kind of, got near each other. Yeah. And, like I said, next thing I knew that they were throwing the life preserver at us. I was happy to see it. Very happy to see it.
That's amazing. I can't swim, or I panic. I mean, if I had to survive, I probably could, but I will not voluntarily be in water where I can't touch the bottom.
Yes.
And I was in the same situation years ago where they're like, let's go snorkeling. And I was like, okay, I guess. And they just literally jump out the boat. And you're like, fuck you.
Yeah, no.
I'm gonna drown.
I'm not, I can't.
So when you came
and
back
I won't
and told
ever
that story,
again.
I was like, I feel that.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
It was. And I think that how you just described yourself categorically as a swimmer is what I just learned that I also am. Because I have the tools to swim, But I guess I had never really been in a body of water where I could not touch the bottom when I needed to psychologically.
Yeah.
And so I very quickly learned that is not for me.
Yeah.
I do not like it.
Well, that's how you learn in life, by doing horrible things and never doing them again.
And then we turned it into a rap song that a lot of people enjoyed.
It was the perfect way to deal with that trauma.
I think so.
Yeah.
The only thing that bothers me about that entire experience, leading into the rap song part of it, is that I don't think I can ever do that song again.
No, I don't think you can.
And
I think you that's just for us.
I know.
It was a one-time deal.
Ugh.
But we appreciate it.
I could tell. I could
The
tell.
audience was so into it.
Yeah, I mean, literally, people have been coming up to him. You know, we're on a boat, so we're seeing all those same people again, and everyone's telling him how much they enjoyed that.
So I'd be curious to hear a little bit about how you got started rapping and the origin stories around that. I just said rapping like I'm fucking
Rapping.
80. I'm in my 8th decade of life.
Got all that rapping and snapping and the hipping and hopping.
Who was it on? Was it you? No. So you had the rappers asking questions in a semicircle to each other, and someone's dad can't say
That's
rap.
my dad.
That was your story.
That's my dad. Yeah, he cannot to this day. He will not. I mean, it's not that he won't. He just has a hard time calling me a rapper. What he would rather tell his adult people he speaks to about me is that I am a spoken word artist.
Which is hilarious to me because, like, isn't that worse? Like,
I mean, it's worse
to be a poet.
I mean,
to a parent, though, right?
Well, no. That sounds like a respectable thing.
Does it?
Yeah,
because I know what it means.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know what it means too, and you know, and I don't ever want to be confused for one of those people, even though I love a lot of people that do that. I would never want to be called that.
It's not in your soul. That's not what you are.
I mean, honestly, I had my spoken word run in college. You know,
sure.
I was on the vanguard of that. I did it. But, you know, that quickly turned into caricature and, you know, I don't think he realizes that he's calling me a bum. You know what I mean? I don't think he gets that.
Yeah.
I think he saw like Def Poetry Jam once 10 years ago and thinks, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I know what those kids are doing.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
And it seemed to him more palatable.
Well, so how did you move from spoken word into rapping?
Well, I always rapped. I rapped since high school. I rapped. I found the people who rapped in my community. It was people who got together in ciphers and circles, and they were freestyling. It was just like mind blowing to see because, I grew up around rap music, but just had never really known people that rapped. So once I found this group of people that rapped, I was like, oh, so anybody can just do this? And me and my close friends in high school were encouraged to start, and we were terrible at first because everybody is.
I feel like that's something I keep hearing a lot on this ship.
Yeah.
From the performers talking to folks who might want to break into these various industries in terms of being a comic or a musician or a podcaster.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was great when I started podcasting. Let's be real. But that for all of us that do like any kind of performance or creative work. The writers panel also talked about this as well. It's just like, you're going to suck.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to suck a lot until you don't.
Yep.
And I feel like that's really hard for folks to understand. No, I don't know. I feel like it's a hard thing to internalize. And when I look at my old videos, they're embarrassing.
Right.
Like, I saw one recently and was like, I got to take that shit offline. It's so bad.
Yeah, it's tough.
Because you do get better by doing it, right? And so you do kind of have to suck it up and, like, get up there and tell some bad jokes and make some bad rhymes. And
because
whatever.
the biggest thing is there's no way for you to know what bad is before you do the thing. Like you can maybe hear somebody else be bad and know that it's bad, but you can't hear w's bad about you.
Yeah, but also
first.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if this makes any sense, but I feel like if you think everything you're producing is bad, then why would you ever continue? Like you have to think some of the stuff you're doing is good, right? Even if
you have to think. I mean, but I think that most people who are motivated enough to do creative stuff, I think that deep down they think they're good, right?
Yeah.
Like deep down they think they have something to offer. right?
Sure, or else why else would you be doing it?
Now, and then you can keep that and still know that you're going to be bad for a while. And I think that like when you're mature and you're starting and you're like, you have some measure of emotional intelligence, what that means is that you'll connect to the community of people doing this already. And, you'll get wisdom where you can, you'll fail where you're supposed to. And you're trying to just basically earn a place in this circle, but typically a lot of people like, when I'm 16 and starting to rap, or 15 or whatever I was, like, I didn't have that long view. I just,
of course.
But I guess it was a little bit easier in rap to know you were bad.
How so?
Because let's say you're a writer, right? Like, you can write and never show anybody. You can write and only show a few people. There's a chance that those people you do show aren't going to tell you that it's bad. Like, rapping involves very specifically saying rhymes that aren't predictable to some sort of beat. And also, you got to try to say something interesting around the rhymes, too. So there's a lot of ways to not do that well when you start. And it's easy for your ears and your body to know when it's not good. And it's easy for you to see in other people's faces when what you're doing isn't good. And I think that's a little bit different than some of the other.
Sure. Well, so you started just like making rhyme, like you started freestyling and stuff. Thank you, because I clearly don't know words.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's cool.
You don't have to know all the words. Just
some of them, just enough to get through this.
Exactly.
So I guess. Okay, I have no musical talent, so I'm coming to this with just like there is a mixer in front of us, and I literally unplugged the mixer to record this podcast.
It's a giant unnecessary mixer, though. They could have a lot smaller mixer.
Sure, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
I have a mixer in our office, and I don't know how to fucking use it. So like, it's half the size of this one. But so like, how do you? Okay. You can say you're a really great writer and you can write really great rhymes and you can freestyle and all this stuff. How does that translate to like writing your own beats? Or does it? Like, is there, you do both.
Right. I think in a sense it is two different parts of the brain. It is two completely different journeys. I think a person's journey as a producer or as a beat maker is more of a function of their journey in like listening to rap music. I feel like that's that, because you can be a rapper that never listens to other people's music. You can just listen to beats. You can just be around people rapping. You can just rap yourself. You don't, it doesn't really involve much consumption of music. But as a producer, like, I think your ear is trained based on like what it is that you like about rap music.
Yeah.
And so, like that, I had beats in my head before I ever started rapping. But that's because I was listening to rap music forever.
Yeah. Well, so in terms of the like subject matter that you speak about, has that evolved over time?
Yeah,
and like, and what is it like? What kinds of things do you focus on now?
You know what? There's two sides to that answer. One, yes, it's evolved. But two, I realized, I think around the time I put out like my fourth album, and because I read some review about it and it said this and it really pissed me off. But then after a while, I realized it was true, and it was the fact that, like, because this was an album I put out that was like really critically acclaimed, right? But the person who was reviewing it had been a person who'd been listening since the first album, and so a big chunk of his review was pointing out how there were songs on it that were basically newer versions of other songs that I've written on my older albums, and not in any way that I was even conscious of. And it was upsetting to me because I'm like, dude, why are you picking my shit apart like that? Like, this is, if you like this one, you know what I mean? Is the question that you're looking to be answered in a review. But he was making a point that, like, in a sense, there's like 5 or 6 kinds of songs that I write. And as I grow as a songwriter, it's about figuring out the best way to write these 5 or 6 specific kind of songs.
Yeah, okay. That's really interesting.
But in this, the other side is that, like, the subject matter does change. When I first started, most of my work was reactionary based on what people expected from mainstream rap music. Okay. So my first album was called Unapologetic Art Rap, because I just wanted to like fly right into the face of all that and embrace it and just know this is going to be the weird stuff, you know? But as mainstream rap has changed, and as I have changed as a person. Like, so my last album was about the demolition of the public housing building that you know, I spent a lot of time in growing up. You know, like, so I think that the things that I've wanted to say have gotten more specific over time, but I think that the modes that I use to say these things are just like these specific kinds of songs.
Yeah. And are you finding like, so a lot of creative folks and on this boat have been like, oh my God, the last year was brutal for creativity, right? It was brutal for productivity in terms of the political landscape. And there's this tension of like, politics have been bad for a long time, right? And like people have been suffering for a long time, and it's extraordinarily bad now for white people, right? Or like it's getting worse for everybody and feeling it in these different ways. So I've heard that a lot on this boat specifically. Has the last like year or two of specifically like Trump politics and the rise of fascism and white supremacy, has that integrated into what you're doing? Like, do you...
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to my most recent album, like, okay, so there's one song on it that like directly references all of that shit. But even outside of that, I think that part of the reason this project has kind of resonated with some people is because the frustration is very apparent. Even though I'm not specifically addressing the political situation in like every line or every song, I feel like that like smoldering rage of right now is like in that work. And I feel like that's where I am, is I'm still, because I don't have the answers yet. I'm still like...
How dare you not have the answers?
I mean,
what are we here for?
I am,
you know, flip this goddamn table.
I have become very accustomed to feeling like I have the answers when it comes to stuff like politics. Politics used to seem a lot easier.
Sure.
You know, like even if it was broken, right? It was easier to deal with. And I felt like I knew where things began and ended. I knew my place in all of it.
Sure,
like,
there were like parameters, whether you agreed with them or not.
Right.
There was a constraint on what we deem political behavior.
Yes. And like what's happening now is that every day, like that's just completely reinvented. Like there's no rules now. And you know, I guess maybe there was no rules the whole time, but there was just a bunch of shit we all agreed on.
You just accepted that everyone was lying all the time, and that
and we were okay with that.
And it was because, like, and that's kind of the funny part about some of this is that you're like all politicians lied. Their platforms were always full of shit, and there was always loads of corruption, and we talked about it openly.
Right.
But you still were like, well, yeah, I'm gonna vote for one of the two parties that we have, and really like gung ho for them, and you're like, but what?
Yeah.
And so now we have someone in office who doesn't have the decorum of a quote unquote what a president should be, and it's bringing all of that into sort of, I guess, stark relief or something, right? Where you're like, oh, wait a minute, this is even worse, and it's like it's very apparent and it's transparent what is happening.
But you know, and the there's another layer to it that he's the figurehead of it, and he's the figurehead of a lot of things that we can say like, oh, he's a figurehead of white supremacy, he's a figurehead of privilege, he's a figurehead of misogyny, like all of these things. But in specifically what we're referring to right now, that decorum thing, he's a figurehead of like this anti-political correctness thing too.
Yeah.
And man, I think as a society, we're not prepared for that. Like psychologically, we're not prepared for that. Like we live in ways, like if we think about who we live around, like who our neighbors are, especially if we live like in apartment buildings or like who our coworkers are, there's a lot of lying that goes on. Like that the kind of lying we were all used to politicians doing is a line that we do every day. Like our neighbors don't know how we really feel about them.
No.
And our coworkers don't know how we really feel about them. And I feel like it's that way because it has to be. because like our purpose, if we're coworkers, is to get some amorphous job done.
Yeah, well, and it feels like that is more harmless under most circumstances, right? Whereas what's happening, or what I think you're getting to now, is that like the sort of low level radiation hum of racism has been as the cap has exploded, right? Where it was like that should existed, but like of course it existed, but it wasn't as socially acceptable to be as racist vocally outdoors, right? It wasn't acceptable to march with fucking pitchforks and shit in the street about like, let's take our streets back, and like anti-Muslim, anti-immigrant, anti-black sentiments. And Trump created an environment where all of those feelings that were simmering, all the like the hate that was simmering, was now allowed to be unleashed. And now we're watching this happen and go, like, and people are like, oh, it's a country divided between those folks and everybody else, and you're like, this has been simmering. Like it's not like racism went away, right? It's not like misogyny went away, but we created systems that forced people to behave differently. And the great thing that the civil rights movement did was it made racists have to be fucking quieter, right? Like it forced the system to change, and now Trump forced this system to change again. I say all this with big stipulations of like, of course, like racism still existed, and like we can see all of that, but it feels different, right?
It does. I mean, I know a lot of people who, when asked the question, if you're standing behind a guy in a coffee shop and he's a racist, do you want to know it or not, right? And my answer's always been no.
Yeah. You know, the only people I've ever heard say yes to that
are who?
White people.
I know some brown people. I know a lot of brown people who want to know. I know a lot of brown people who prefer the racism of the South traditionally because it's overt, and the racism of the North, quote unquote, where it's quiet and you don't know where you stand with people, they were more uncomfortable with it. I've never felt that way, because to me, like, what feels like an equal society is not where everybody likes everybody. It's where I don't have to be reminded about my minority status when I don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, to me, what feels like the society that I would want to live in is where, like, yeah, you don't have to like me, but shut the fuck up. And if I'm not bothering you, or you're not, if we're not engaged in any sort of way, then we just go about our business. And in that way, like, we both get to live whatever fucking fulfilling life we want to live.
Theoretically,
like all things in a vacuum.
Ignoring like institutional racism and all that shit.
Absolutely.
But yeah, like your day to day, you can go buy groceries, and if the like white like checkout person is racist, you're not going to know that.
Exactly,
and that's fine.
That is fine for me, because I'm not here. I don't think that we should police people's emotions, right? And I'm not saying that it's okay to be racist. I don't know. Like there's this.
You'd prefer people not marching in the street with tiki torches.
I would, yeah. I certainly would. I mean, but what that represents to me is just like, and I know we're talking about the kind of PC thing, but the other tone that strikes with me is a real sort of stupidity that makes me angry. Like a real sort of like if you are a white man, and you're upset about, like, what are you upset about? Like, what have you lost? Like, what like, seriously, like, make a list to me of things that you have lost.
Yeah.
And like, if you can write things down, I will be shocked, because all I can sense is that you're upset because people are asking you to think about other people. Is that?
It was really interesting around the election and like right afterwards, where just like I got a lot of white dudes in my life. Just there's a lot of them around.
We all do.
Yeah, it's true. We're
on a boat full of them, even.
Yeah. But so I specifically work in games and tech, and so like that is a particular. And And, you know, like, these are my friends, like, these are people I care about, my friends, right? And they are all freaking out about the election. And there's the part of me that's like, good, like, this is great. Like, welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Like, welcome to this side of caring about the world beyond, like, whatever. I don't even know where I'm going with this. But
no, I know what you mean.
But there was this sense of, like, for me, there was a sense of, like, okay, cool, you're here now. Like, I hate the word fucking woke, but, like, you're here now in this, like, you're getting a little woke and you want to do something. And I'm kind of like, cool, I'm really glad you're here. We need allies, but also understand that people have been doing this work for decades and you got to mop the floors for a while, right? Like, you got to pick up the chairs at the meeting. You don't talk and you just, like, learn and listen. And I think a lot of white dudes, because of their privilege, come in and say, okay, let's fix it.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa, slow your roll, dude.
Well, but fortunately, right? Like that is the fix.
What's the fix?
Is white men listening, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the fix?
Yeah, kind of.
So it's like they learn quickly, you know, if they're, I mean, if they're in a place where they're able to deal with their own shit. And when I say that, they, like, you know, like me as a male, right? Like we're entering a new, very public understanding of, you know, the tentacles of misogyny and how much of that is just very prevalent in our culture and how much women have to deal with and men never think about. Like, and so me personally, as I am emotionally, like, whatever my level of emotional maturity is to deal with my own shit, makes me a more valuable ally. But all of that involves listening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
So
and that goes for every privileged class,
exactly,
right? Like,
exactly.
Yeah, for sure. We're going so much longer than
sure.
I thought, but this was
no
great.
worries.
No, I do want to ask you, I kind of want to ask about, like, mainstream hip hop.
Sure.
And, like, your feelings about that. And kind of in relation to this conversation of, like, you know, you've got this, you know, it's a very black dominated art form that gets co-opted by white record executives, et cetera, and, like, obviously hip hop got really big because white people listened to it. And, like, is the political climate changing what hip hop looks like and is about? And, like, what is your relationship to mainstream hip hop? So that was a lot of I don't know.
No, yeah.
If any of that is a thing that you have any interest in speaking to.
I would love to speak to all of it. I have I guess a weird proximity to mainstream hip hop in that we're in an age right now where mainstream hip hop as an art form, as like songs that are made and put out into the world and promoted and do well, like, we're in an age now where those songs are hard to make. Like, they didn't used to be hard to make. You didn't used to have to know how to rap really well to be a really big artist. Now you do. There's a skill level, there's a dedication to craft. Like, all the big rappers, they make songs every day. They make songs all night long. That's why they have albums and mixtapes and mixtapes and mixtapes, and they have all of this music because, like, they're working on their craft every day. Like, they're not lazy. They are good. They are, like, making stuff, and the quality level's higher than ever. I do think we're, like, as a genre and as consumers interacting with this genre, we are entering the beginning of a moment of, like, reflecting on content in a real way. There's been, you know, a couple of, like, there was a Rick Ross thing a year or two ago when he's, you know, said something that basically amounted to date rape in a song, and it created a lot of outrage, and that was a new thing.
Yeah.
You know, rap for a very long time has had space for guys to be talking to guys as if women aren't listening.
Yeah.
And in a vile way, you know, like, not in a, oh, how are you feeling, brother. Wait, no, like, like in a.
Where are those songs?
I mean, they're there. I'll point you in some directions.
Yeah.
But
No,
but we are having to atone for the climate that we're in right now.
And I feel like it is, like the feminist frequency motto is be critical of the media you love. And like I listen to a lot of hip hop, and like I do have to tune out the misogyny
and you
in the
have
music
to.
that I like.
You shouldn't have to.
And I say that, and I know that I don't need to qualify this for our listeners, but like all types of music are racist and sexist and shitty, and like this isn't. I hate that hip hop is always to blame for misogyny in music when you're like, give me a break.
I know, I get it, but I think that my brothers making the rap music have to be more accountable. Yeah. I really think they do.
And this goes with all media, right? Yeah. This is a conversation we're having in comics and video games and TV and movies, and watching more like better representations, right? And that goes for lyrics as well, right? Mm-hmm. Like how are you telling your stories? Can you tell them in less sexist ways, right? Like that is possible.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why
What stories do you want to tell, right?
That's why I think that it's okay to be very upset with hip hop, because it is very easy to tell these stories in ways that aren't so problematic. It is. It's not like inherent in rhyming that you have to say these words and refer to women these ways or refer to gays these ways, or you don't have to do that. That's part of. Remember, I told you a moment earlier that I was going. I was trying to be real left of center when I first started, and be real reactionary to what, that's the way in which I still very much am, because to me what that represents when people are given a pass on that stuff is that it speaks to this authenticity thing in hip hop that is really kind of oppressive, because it makes it seem like there's only one genuine Black American experience, and it involves misogyny and homophobia, or any sort of caricature, and that's
And do you feel like that's changing?
I don't feel like it's changing fast enough. I feel like
feel like that about everything, but but there are so many I don't know about in hip hop specifically, but I think in mainstream media there are more representations of different kinds of Blackness.
Sure, yeah,
that we hadn't seen 3 years ago.
I think that the sound of hip hop is catching up in terms of the production. I think that the images of rappers, the visual images, the fashion, is catching up. I don't think the content is catching up yet. Yeah. And I feel like that's the part where, there's a lot of conversation to be had. There's a lot of atonement to be made, I feel like. And in moving forward, I think that, consumers are going to have to make that choice, you know?
Okay, last question.
Sure.
We're going to circle back around. Mm-hmm. Why is your name your name?
Because my name is, my given name is Michael Eagle.
What's the open part?
We're going to circle back again from my spoken word poetry days.
Yes, I knew it. I knew it had to be something like that.
It was, people called me Open Mic because I used to host the open mics.
Really? So the name was given to you?
Well, that part. And then when I started a recording career, I was just going to be Open Mic. But then there was another guy named Open Mic, and then there was actually a third guy named Open Mic.
How dare all these open mics? It's like Michael is one of the most common names ever. It
is like that.
Remember when I was like, your name sucks? And you're like, no, it doesn't. My name is Michael Eagle. I was like, fair.
Yeah.
Totally fair.
If you put you got to say the whole thing.
You got to say the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's why when I see you in the halls, I say, hello, Michael Eagle.
Well, there you go.
Every time.
I think you should continue to.
If folks want to check out your work or hit you up or find out more or buy your things, where might they do that?
All over the internet. I'm sure I'm in your phone and computer devices right now. If you just look me up on whatever you look things up on, I will be there. My website is mikeeagle.net, where you can find all of my tour dates, my social media, and links to buy things if you're interested in doing that.
Awesome. I highly, highly recommend checking all that out. Thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Peace.